Cannabis today is one of the most discussed substances in the world. Its presence in modern life is undeniable, but cannabis has been around way longer than its modern popularity. I chose to focus my documentary on cannabis because not only is it relevant and popular today, but its history is just as important. Cannabis was just as influential in ancient civilizations. It had powerful medicinal and spiritual roles. Over thousands of years, the way people use cannabis has evolved greatly, reflecting cultural beliefs, medicinal practices, and religious rituals. Understanding how cannabis shaped ancient societies shows a complicated history that goes way beyond the typical uses we associate it with today. In this documentary, I'll go into the different ways ancient China and Egypt used cannabis and how its role in both cultures shaped society. In ancient Egypt, cannabis was known as Shem Shemet, a plant with divine associations. In 2019, researchers analyzing residues in the tombs of Ramses found traces of cannabis, suggesting its integration into funerary practices. This aligns with the belief that cannabis could aid in spiritual transitions, potentially easing the soul's journey into the afterlife. An archaeologist's finding in a burial tomb in Beit Shemesh, Israel, revealed cannabis remains dating to the 4th century AD. In the tomb, skeletal remains of a young girl who probably died during childbirth were found, along with evidence of cannabis use. The archaeologist Joe Zias notes that cannabis was probably burned and inhaled as part of a ritual to ease childbirth, possibly by a midwife aligned with historical and medicinal practices. This discovery greatly helped us understand the use of cannabis in ancient medical practices, specifically in childbirth, as well as its cultural significance in the ancient Middle East. One of the most evident artifacts that show the use of cannabis in ancient Egypt is the Ramesseum III Ebers Papyrus. The papyrus, made and used around 1700 BCE, is an ancient Egyptian medical document written on papyri that has descriptions and treatments for various illnesses. It was used to guide medical practice, providing instructions on how to treat conditions like infections, pain, and injuries. There are sections of it that provide treatments using medical cannabis, which proves the role of cannabis in prehistoric medicine in ancient Egypt. The papyrus would have been used by ancient Egyptian physicians who were responsible for maintaining medical knowledge and administering treatment. This artifact gives us insight into the medical knowledge and practices of the time, especially how cannabis and other substances might have been used for healing. Thousands of miles away from Egypt in ancient China, cannabis held a similar multi-purpose role. Known as ma, the plant was used in both spiritual and medical contexts as early as the Neolithic period. The 2nd century BCE text, Shenon Benakajing, describes cannabis as a treatment for conditions like rheumatism and menstrual pain, praising its ability to harmonize the 5 organs. Shamanic practices also embraced cannabis. Research done in 2019 showed that cannabis was used for playing a big role in burial and ritual practices in China as far back as 2400 BCE. Early uses include stuff like making textiles such as clothing, ropes, and things for Shinto rituals from its fibers, and for medicinal and ritualistic purposes. This early use of cannabis in religious and medicinal contexts highlights how deeply ingrained the plant was in the lives of ancient people, both as a practical resource and a tool for connecting with the divine. An artifact from this period, the wooden brazier, was used to burn cannabis in ancient China, likely to inhale its psychoactive fumes. The braziers were found in 8 tombs at the Zhezhenko Cemetery, located in a mountainous region in the northwest of China. These were most likely used by the elite, as they were thought to have been used during burial ceremonies. Used 2,500 years ago, it is the oldest physical evidence of cannabis. This artifact shows the spiritual weight connected to cannabis in ancient China. Despite the vast cultural differences in ancient Egypt and China, their use of cannabis reveals a shared understanding of its potential to heal, to connect, and to transcend. In Egypt, cannabis eased pain and facilitated spiritual journeys. In China, it was both a medicine and a tool for divine communication. So across these ancient cultures, cannabis was not just a plant, but a bridge between the physical and spiritual world, as well as a tool used for medicine. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something.